I'm pulling up my screen because I don't want to share my screen. So let's go. I'm pulling up my screen because I don't want to share my screen. All right, I got lost my app on this good Saturday morning. So I just want to wish everyone a great good morning. I am Neeland Lewis. I'm Vice President of Professional Development with with PMI here, and we're seated in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we do cover 60 of the counties of the 100 counties in North Carolina. I see many familiar faces. There are volunteers on the call today. That work with our chapter, as well as members that attend our meetings and members that also have attended our professional development courses, such as PMP Prep and ACP and everything. So it's just great to see everyone on here today. I'm really excited for you to be able to see a familiar face within the PMI Metrolina family, Dawn Nicole, as we affectionately call her, but Dawn McElwain. She is always, around and willing to share her talents and her share her nuggets to make sure that she benefits the professional community. And I just want to go, down a little bit about her. So Dawn Nicole uses Agile principles and values to help organizations grow and succeed by empowering leaders and teams to be more adaptive, creative, and resilient in their business growth strategies, decision-making, and product development. As a certified Agile coach with over 23 years in corporate leadership, Dawn Nicole and her team, they create and deliver coaching programs, techniques, and tools used by corporations, city governments, and U.S. military officials with a national footprint. Well, international, obviously, because we have people all over on today. Whether in need of business agility strategies or enterprise agile transformation consultancy, certified coach strategist, and she's also a certified coach strategist and also a published author. Dawn, there's so much more I could say about her. You did see where she hosted her Agile Week event this past year. We definitely look forward to work with her more, but we're eager to have her with you today. Just wanted to set some housekeeping. We will be active in the chat today, so if you have any questions, definitely be sure to be interactive. Dawn doesn't want anyone to be a bump on the log. So we definitely look forward to hearing from you there. We do ask that everyone respect each other and just know that this is a safe space and everyone can share their ideas. And at the end of the call, we'll also give time for questions as well and be able to give you some information on what's going on in PMI Metrolina and what's to come.
Awesome.
Dawn, we're ready for you to take it away.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to be courteous in case you had more to say. Thank you for that great introduction, Neeland. I hope I can live up to that. Awesome. So Tiffany, I don't know if you're high-fiving me or you have a question. So I'll give you a virtual high five. But first of all, since we're broadcasting from the US, I want to say good morning to the East Coasters, good morning, early morning to the West Coasters, and good evening. Thanks, Tiffany. And good night and good evening, wherever you're from. We're so happy you're here. We knew we were going to have a global audience today. So real fast, what I like to do, and I teach this too, I never like to just get into the content. I like conversations. I like great discussions. So we're going to start off with the conversation because it's kind of early here in the Charlotte area. We've got our coffee or our tea, and we should get to know each other a little bit. So here's what I want to know as your facilitator today. I want to know, if you haven't put in the chat, there are two things I'm going to request you to do in the chat. All right. Where are you joining us from, if you haven't said it? And what is the one thing you want to get out of today's talk? It's really important when you guys are going to coaching or a training event, hold your facilitator accountable by being real clear. What do you want to get out of this so that we can meet your needs? So I see people are joining, but tell us where you're joining from and what you want to get out of this. So for example, Tamika, you might say Charlotte, North Carolina, and I want to learn X, or I want to find out X. This will help me to help you in our 2 hours today. So I see people joining from,
Wow.
yeah, I'm loving it. So I told you, Neelan, that we were going global with our talk today. While people are putting this in the chat, and we're going to read some of this, and Neelan, I may ask you to help me just kind of review some of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so just quick reminder, today it's also about getting your PDUs, right? So that means that we want you to engage, participate, and stay here to the end so that you can claim your credits appropriately, all right? So Kenyatta's joining from North Carolina. I want to learn more about Agile Transformation in the workspace. Awesome, you're in the right place for that. Kimberly, you're joining from Maryland. Okay, this is moving too fast. So Neela, let's pick a few.
Yeah, I see them. I know you probably, it's easier for me to see them probably. Yeah, so we have Raleigh, Durham,
London.
Detroit, Atlanta, Green
Yes.
Bay,
Woo.
Sewanee, Ontario. Yeah, I have family in Ontario, Canada.
Awesome. Ontario.
Um,
Okay.
Princeton, we have Tampa, Florida. I used to live in Tampa.
I love it.
Harrisburg, Richmond, Virginia,
And what are people saying in terms of what do they want to learn too, Nina? Like, let's pull out a
Maryland.
few specific things. Yeah.
Okay, so from Matteo from London, I would like to know more about agile transformation in the workplace. And that
Yes.
isn't that such a popular
Yep.
topic and really a need in this time,
Yes.
adjusting with new technologies and the way that we work new in
Yes.
this environment. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so listen, all of this is good stuff. It's coming in, and I want y'all to hang in there with us. We have a lot planned. So as you're typing in what you want to learn, let me tell you what we've carefully crafted for you today. All right, so today is not going to be a talking head. It's going to be an experience. I specialize in helping to put together experiences. That means there's going to be an opportunity for me to ask you probing questions, for you to share your own experiences, what you're feeling, what you're seeing in the market. Right? There's also going to be an opportunity for us to work together as a group in breakout rooms a little bit later. So we've got a fun-filled event. If y'all thought you were just coming to listen, think again. We're going to work and listen and learn at the same time. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we are going to get things kicked off. So let me just do this part, and then Neelan, I will let you focus on the chat. But right now, I'm going to move on to the presentation. Can you see my screen, Neelan?
Yes, I can. I can see.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm so pleased to have everyone here today, not just from the region, but globally, because guess what? This community is global, and we have to start really leveraging that talent. We have to start learning from each other, hearing each other's stories, and coming together. And that's what I'm all about. So welcome today to Understanding Agile Transformation, what it is and why it matters. And many of the things that you all put in the chat, we're going to address today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Now, this talk, some of you already know this, we're like on tour with this talk. Why are we on tour with this talk? And I hate to sound like this is a music single, right? We're not a rock band, but the reason why we're on tour with this talk is because if you haven't heard, the enterprise agile transformation services market, the market many of us work in, is predicted to reach $18 billion by 2026. So look at that closely, because I don't know about you, but for me, that means opportunity. right? That means it's also worth understanding. What are we really doing in this space? What does that really mean, not just for your employer, but for you? Where are the opportunities, right? For project managers, for consultants, for coaches. So we're going to talk about all of this today, but just keep that in the back of your mind, because I'm going to break down how big this space is. And the reason why that's important, you all, is because it is not unheard of for us to get our certifications, go work for an employer or for ourselves, and sort of be in a bubble, have tunnel vision, where some of us might have the same employer for like 3 years or 5 years, and you might be unaware of what's happening around you. So today is about bringing forward that awareness, and then really being intentional about what it means to really understand this space and how you can contribute and give value and be effective as a leader in this space. So let's keep moving, all right? Again, the first thing I want to do is welcome you all to this talk. As you just saw, this is a global audience. We knew it would be. Also, we were at max capacity and we had to open up some more capacity. So thank you for that, Neelan. We're going to be using the chat feature quite a bit. I'm a hyper chat feature user as a certified trainer. So we're going to use the chat feature quite a bit. This is what I will say. If you have questions around any of the content, either hold your questions or put them in the chat, but it's going to be really important that you use the term, you put the word question in front of it so that it doesn't get lost in the sauce, because we're going to be using this chat like a superhighway. So if you have a question, Neelan and team is sort of, they have an acute focus on watching, and then periodically I'll stop and I'll address some questions, okay? Also, many of you are going to probably hear some things for the first time that I think will pique your interest. So if you want to talk about it further, although I can't deep dive completely here today, there will be an opportunity for you to get my contact information to reach out directly, ask questions. Let's set up some conversations if that's you. Lastly, special thanks to Metro Lina PMI. What you all may not know is we've been putting this together since October, Neelan. I think we started having this conversation last year. So special thanks to Metro Lina PMI for hosting this. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Agile Connects. If you have not heard of Agile Connects, it is the world's first social networking site for the global Agile community. So we are the Facebook of Agile. Come over, share your knowledge, share your discussions. We're all about community connections and careers. All right, so enough about that. Let's have a conversation, because today I'm talking specifically, I believe, to the project management community. Yes, so let's talk about it. In October, we ran a poll. So a little bit about what we do, and I'm going to get into who I am in a second. But we run annually an event that's called Agile Week Carolinas. And so Agile Week Carolinas attracts a global audience. And we had about 3,000 people sign up for all week. And one of the things we did is we polled project managers and we said, what is the hardest part about a project manager transitioning into the Agile space? And we found out overwhelmingly that 35% of the project managers polled said it's the overall mindset reshift, right? As a project manager, my entire focus is managing, right? Managing the program, managing the process, right? I might not have time to manage the insecurities or the needs of people. And the acute focus is the program, the process, right? And so you work, you study, you pay money, you invest as a project manager, and the word manager is in there. Well, once you move to the Agile way of working, it puts everybody sort of at that level, right? We're working as leaders. You're not a manager now, you're a servant leader, and there's a mindset shift. So I want to ask you all a question. So this is what I mean with using the chat. I want someone to either come off mute and talk to me, or put in the chat, are these things that you're seeing too? So some of the challenges with moving, from just being a PM into the Agile way of working, what are some challenges that project managers face? Would you all agree with this poll, or do you have anything else to add? Let's see what we have in the chat. Neelan, anything?
Yeah, so we have, as far as managing, let's see, manage budget and timelines. The mindset shift is a challenge. They would say that's the largest one.
Yeah.
I keep seeing in here mindset,
Yep.
support
Yep.
from the organizational leadership. That is so difficult to be able to get that sponsorship.
Yep.
From vertically. definitely having difficulty with project managers be able to fit into Agile,
Yes.
not
That's who I
clearly
meant.
understanding Agile, how to budget Agile projects.
Okay. So listen, we could have a whole workshop on
Yeah.
this piece, right? So I'm going to pause you. That's great, Neelan. So let's talk about this just a little bit. And I added this slide in this morning because guess what? I'm speaking to a project management audience today, and this is relevant for you. So let's have this conversation. I talk to project managers all the time. I'm on the ground coaching, and in a second, I'll show you my background and what I do. And I hear this quite a bit. I hear project managers who no longer know where they fit, right? I don't know where I fit. There's this assumption that the way the roles work as we move to agile ways of working, that the PM should become a scrum master, right? The business analyst might become the product owner, right? Developers were already there. And there's just this assumption that you should know what this means, right? How do you go from managing the program and the process and not moving those traits forward, as a servant leader? In fact, a quick example of that is one of the ladies I coached recently who has a deep PM background. She's struggling with this, right? Because everything feels like conflict and pushback, even though Agile teaches us this is about a collaboration, right? This is about interactions and everyone is on the same page. We're equal in this space. She's very much accustomed to being accountable and having her PM hat on. And so when the product owners have a different opinion, it feels like pushback. And one of the things I had to do recently was talk her off the ledge and say, listen, don't quit. All right, let's figure out how to coach through this process. And so why am I telling you this? Because what you can expect to learn today I'm going to talk about sort of the PM's role in this transition, you all. But the first thing to take away that I'm going to teach you is that Agile transformation is irrespective of role, right? Roles are vertical. Agile transformation is horizontal. It impacts every single role, and it's not a one-person job, right? It's everybody's role. And so today, to help you understand that at a fundamental level, we'll talk about some techniques. We'll talk about how to prepare. We'll talk about all types of things. So I thought you would find this poll interesting. So let's keep going. So who am I? Dawn Nicole McElwain, in case you were wondering how to say my last name. And I'm a certified Agile coach. I'm an enterprise Agile Transformations leader and market watcher. So I get paid to watch this market, to understand what's going on and everything in between, right? But I'm also a published author. And something about me, I'm an Agile enthusiast. Where Agile is moving, you all, we're going to Agile everything, whether we like it or not. In case you haven't heard, there's educational Agile, right? I've got friends that are putting together frameworks for educational institutions. There's personal agility, career agility. There's agility for everything, right? Regardless of how you feel about this, the world is moving to Agile ways of working. So it's worth understanding and getting good at. Now, when I tell you that I'm an Agile enthusiast, one way to prove that to you is I once used Agile to write a film. So what you may not know about me is I'm very left brain and right brain. I'm extremely creative in the creative space. And I'm also like hardcore business. So that's Dawn Nicole. But in my day-to-day work as a certified Agile coach and trainer, I have the pleasure and luxury of standing up and launching global enterprise Agile Scrum teams. We call these pilot teams or lighthouses or squads. It just depends on which model we're talking, right? But I get to do this and I love this work because, in case you can't tell, I'm not shy and I really enjoy people and cultures. But I also get the luxury of training, developing, and supporting the needs of the Agile leaders. And so this is me pictured here on the right with a German-based team, a German-based company, and I was the Agile coach to the Americas, right, North and South America. I'm telling you that to let you know, I've also had the luxury of working in an Agile culture in every single sector, almost every single sector, from banking to automotive, retail, supply chain, it doesn't matter, right? Now, where you're going to find my experience is a little different in how you benefit, because I think if you tell somebody this is something about me, you should also say, and what that means to you is, right? Is I'm not your average coach. I'm a little bit of a unicorn where I've worked inside of the enterprises as a W-2 Agile coach and transformation consultant, but I'm also an independent principal consultant, a business owner, right? Now, what does this really mean? This means I also provided the professional training, Agile consulting, coaching to corporate leaders. So I'm telling you this because today's talk, I'm going to actually help you see it from both sides. I'll help you understand how the deals are made, because one thing that I realized that Agile teams are not privy to, most of you have no idea what happens before you become active in Agile. You have no idea how the teams were selected in most cases, who's been assigned, how we got the work. You just are triggered at the point where someone says, hey, we're going to move to Agile, and we're doing a kickoff next week, right? So my goal is to make this make sense. And because I've been on both sides, and I'm still on both sides of the fence, I have this unique advantage when it comes to this space. And we're going to talk from both sides, because I will share with you, there are some people on today's call, they have never heard of Agile. They only join this call because they're interested in being a service provider in this market. How can I be an external consultant, an external coach? I have my company. Or many of you are already working in this space and you're not completely tapped in deeply to the opportunities. I'm going to get to the questions in a second. You're not tapped into the opportunities in its fullest extent. So my job here is to make sure that you understand that, because regardless of what side of the fence I was working on, whether I was in the entrepreneurial space, right, as an external, or I was inside the company, there was one thing that both sides had in common, right? When it got down to it, outside of their vertical understanding, that means just their lens of the transformation, neither side had a fundamental understanding of what Agile transformation really meant. And that's why I'm here today. That's why we're at this talk, because my mission is to bring transparency to Agile transformation so that all of you, the people on the front lines, can have the insight and the tools that you need to be successful in this space. I'm going to pause. It looks like maybe some questions came in or some comments, Neelan. Any comments or questions from the chat?
Yeah, well, there was just some just someone singing your praises.
Oh, thank you. I'm always I'm here for it. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they just were reinforcing, what you're talking about. They're actually Dig Paul. I hope I'm saying their name
Dick
right there.
Paul. I know Dick Paul. I've coached it. Hi, Dick Paul. Thanks for joining. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, so yes, Carlos, and actually Carlos emailed him. I recognize that name because we were emailing. He asked, does Agile transformation equal digital transformation?
Oh, good question. It is absorbed in it. Meaning, that's a great question, Carlos. And I'm glad you asked it, because this presentation doesn't deeply get into that, but I'll share this with you. If you think you're going to come in as a coach and win the business, right, the relationship, and you're going to pitch Agile transformation, and it's only the people side of it, and you don't have a parallel digital transformation plan to mirror, meaning we, just as much as I come in and I coach and I consult on the people, we get the teams together, we make sure the ceremonies, the schedules are on point, and people have understandings. We still need to have a conversation around a repository. Are we going to use Jira or Confluence, and for what, right? When are we using Mural? What are we using for this? Are we still using SharePoint? So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, the digital component is just as much, and it should be absorbed inside of the transformation. Great question. And even though I'm not going to get into that here very deeply, we can have a conversation outside of today's presentation on that. Okay. So is that cool, Neelan? Is he saying okay? Because we're going to keep going now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Wonderful. Okay, great. All right, so hopefully I set this up. So here we are today. Now you understand why we're here at this talk, because there's no transparency in transformation. And I started to realize that when I was on the ground, right, working hard in the trenches, people were saying, well, honestly, Dawn, I mean, I know what the word Agile transformation means, but what does it really mean? So I'm here today to make it make sense. All right, so let's jump in. In order to have the same page understanding, we have to start with, what do I mean by enterprise Agile transformation? So enterprise Agile transformation is the act of an enterprise who seeks out to gradually transform its nature or culture into one that can thrive in a flexible, keyword, very flexible, collaborative, self-organizing, and fast-changing environment. Now that's a lot of words. So in this industry at the coaching level, we just say Agile ways of working. So today I'm going to use these almost simultaneously. You'll hear me say Agile transformation, you'll hear me say Agile ways of working, and I mean it in the same capacity, okay? An agile transformation will typically focus on the process of transitioning, not just the process, but the process of transitioning to a nimbler, leaner, and more responsive organization based on agile principles and values. Unlike when we were weighty, right? A lot of weight and robust, right? When we had these huge scopes, right? I come from a world when I joined this space, I was working at Capital One back in the day in the tech space. And a lot of people know that Capital One is really a technology, a digital company that's disguised as a credit card company. Like they're hardcore technology, right? And so back in the day, I come from a deep waterfall environment, deep SDLC life cycle. We weren't even really talking agile. Okay. And what was happening for us, and I have to give you this comparison for you to appreciate where we're moving to, is I come from a project team where it could take a year, 2 years. Some projects went for 5 years. You all know this because some of you are old school project managers, right? And so what was happening though is there was a lot of risk. There was a lot of overhead. Why was there risk? Because things could change, the market could change, right? Regulations and policies could change, right? Also, we could build long and build wrong, right? So there was a lot of ambiguity. There wasn't as much transparency. We were starting and stopping. There were just so many things. Now, I'm not completely saying that waterfall is, I'm not going to be the coach to say that waterfall is never, because it worked for many years. Let's be honest, right? Some of the best things were built, but as you learn more, right, and you evolve, you learn new ways to do things, right? New perspectives on age-old challenges. So these companies saw an opportunity for them to get feedback faster. We're going to talk about that today, right? They also saw opportunity in creating a safe space, right, for risk, and a safe space for creativity and a way to message that. What's really interesting about what I'm going to teach you here today, and some of you may or may not realize this, but when the Agile Manifesto came out in 2001, and if you don't know what that is, I go Google it, all right? When the Agile Manifesto came out, there was no such thing as the term Agile Transformation. This is a market that sort of grew and picked up and became a giant and a beast that is now on top of the Scrum. All right, so I'm going to say it again. When the Agile Manifesto came out, it was at the team level, right? It was about the Scrum team and how to deliver technology better and faster and smarter, okay? They could not have known back in 2001 that through this process, there'd be a hierarchical, a horizontal process that needed to happen. Because what will happen is if we only focus on teams, we're not focusing on the leaders around the teams, the stakeholders, and how to bring everybody together, which is why you have all these great new frameworks that are popping up everywhere. But through this, you all created a whole entire giant market of the Agile Transformation Services market. So one takeaway for you today is to understand that when you use the word Agile Transformation, it is now considered an industry. The Agile Transformation Services market is an industry. But I digress. So my point is, with Agile Transformation, it's this whole desire for companies to want to move in a nimble way, right? To do less, right? To figure out what the appetite is with less, and to do things in iterations, okay? Also, again, Agile principles and values, if you don't know what that is, go look up the manifesto. But when it comes to enterprise Agile transformations, they typically focus on a complete transformation. That word complete is very important, right? They focus on a complete transformation of the entire organization, not just a process, right? Not just a small scope, but we look at how one thing will impact the other thing, okay? Also, Agile transformations tend to extend far beyond the scope to develop better products and deliver them to market faster, and instead include Agile ways of thinking and being as a first step, what we in the industry consider having an Agile mindset. Now, fun fact, if you're brand new to this industry, the fastest way to get yourself into an argument or a debate is to go tell somebody that we are doing Agile, all right? In this industry, I don't know why people get in the bunch about this, but your Agile purist will say, you can't do Agile, you have to be Agile. So there's this real fun debate that continues to persist around doing versus being, okay? So I just wanted the newbies to know, make sure you tell people we're looking at Agile ways of working or becoming an Agile culture or an Agile enterprise. So that's just a little inside joke. Now, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, whether you believe in the doing or being, here's what we know. Companies everywhere, regardless of sector, regardless of industry, of every market size, are now moving to agile ways of working and undergoing agile transformations at the fastest rate ever. Okay. And it doesn't matter what industry. And this is why I'm imploring you all today on this call, right? Do not box yourself into one place. You are an asset. You are such an asset because here's who wants you, right? Beverage and bottling industry, all moving to agile ways of working, right? They're already, in many cases, agile environments, and they're putting out case studies and white papers, right? This means we are no longer restricted to a specific industry, even if you started in the industry. And let's take a look at banking and finance, right? In this market in the Carolinas, that's huge, right? Or automotive and distribution, BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, Agile, okay? Also pharmaceutical and drug industry. And here shortly, I'm going to give you some real examples. So I just want you all to know, unlike the way we used to think in the past, where we sort of got into an industry, if you're like me, I came in through the banking and finance industry, but your agile understanding and your agile certifications and your experience is valuable here across multiple sectors. And you have to see yourself as a brand, right? Irrespective of the employer, wherever you're tied to, right? Agile is global. So I really just try to implore even the people I coach, really take into consideration what you're learning, what you're doing, right? This is all valuable because these companies, they're paying for your knowledge. They're paying for your experiences, your lessons learned. I see we have a question in the chat. I'll pause here for any questions and then I'll keep going. Neelan, did we have?
Yeah, there were just some comments.
Sure.
One of them was just saying that, talking about stakeholder change, the requirements, and that Agile can be expensive. Wondering, does Agile, they want Agile to be related to vigilance and resilience.
Okay.
That doesn't mean the same. Does it necessarily, does it relate to that?
Okay, let's pause there because we've got some more good content that may answer some of these questions, and then we'll have some pause periods for anything that's not been covered. So great questions, you all, great feedback. So we're going to keep going right now, and then we'll attempt to break. Now, obviously, in a 2-hour call, right, there's only so much, but there's lots of training that I give around this topic. So we'll keep going for now. So back to the industries who are moving to agile ways of working. What I want us to do is think about, why would they? Right? Why are these industries, why are they getting it now? Why now? Why in 2020 or 2021, right? Here's why. Because when I'm saying when these enterprises were working in a mode previous to Agile, right? Whether SDLC, Waterfall, traditional ways of working, okay? There was a notion that by utilizing these frameworks, they were able to deliver value. Now, when you think about value delivery really at its simplest level means that order in, order out, right? Customer, product owner, product manager, stakeholder said, I want X, and you properly delivered X satisfactorily. That is delivering value, right? You're delivering what they see as value. Now, here's what's interesting about Agile. These companies found out that Agile not only allows them to deliver value, Agile allows them to create value. There's a stark difference between delivering value and creating value. And I challenge the teams that I work with to start thinking about value creation. So let's just noodle on that. What is value creation? So value creation is where you become so in tuned and so, I should say, so attuned to your product, right? And to the end user that you start to anticipate what they might need, right? Before they even have to ask. Okay, so Agile not only enables value delivery, it enables us to be creative enough, right, to create value. So let's look at 8 ways that organizations are benefiting by being an Agile enterprise and an Agile organization. So number 1, there's improved product quality right off the bat. I see it every time, right? I go from company to company, and automatically, once we get it right and we start moving to agile ways of working, the product quality improves just a bit. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why, right? One reason, if I'm a developer, if I'm QA, if I'm writing code, and I know that someone is going to be inspecting my code every 2 weeks, right? I'm going to be up for it. I don't want to be put on the spot, right? Now, I don't mean that it's perfect. I just mean that because I know someone's checking, right, on a reoccurring basis, I've got all eyes on me. This puts a certain level of accountability on me, as opposed to if I know I've got 6 months to produce a mock-up whenever, I'm supposed to deliver it. So there's this early and often checkpoint, and this means that my product quality is improving. But not just that, that's not the only reason it improves. It improves because the focus really starts to focus on business value and customers. So not just a project, not just a thing, a widget, but who's going to be using this at the end? Who is my customer? What is their persona? What are they like? What are they already asking for? And what might they ask for next, right? What's my customer persona? Also, Agile enables the faster delivery of products and services, because Agile means that we're delivering incrementally, right? We don't have to wait for the entire scope of this thing to be done a year from now or 6 months, right? What's the minimum viable product that we can deliver? I have such great conversations with HR teams around this, right? And marketing teams who are saying, our project was this big, and then I start going into coach and we figure out what's valuable that we can deliver now in incremental pieces that will bring value to the end user. So again, faster delivery of products and services. We're not waiting. I'm going to tell you something that's very interesting, you all. You're already seeing this today. I just want you to think about this for a second. We now are in a society where our appetite as consumers, we expect things way faster. I wish the iPhone, right? And I wish someone would say it's going to take you a year for an upgrade. We want what we can get now, and we forgive them for the bugs on our apps and in our phones, because as consumers, our appetite has become attuned to getting what we want faster. We're a society now where we're very quick to forgive, right? And as long as we can use the portions that we want. So we're seeing this even as consumers, right? But also Agile enables better business partner and stakeholder engagement, right? Because by the way it's set up, right, the business partners and stakeholders are a part of this conversation, interactions and collaborations over contract negotiations, right? So Agile is enabling this because now the business partner and the stakeholder, they understand their role in this, or they should, right? This is being assumptive, and they understand when they're able to show up and give feedback. Agile enables this, as opposed to being reactionary, right? As opposed to doing it after something breaks or just to troubleshoot. Now they're a part of the process, right? Agile also enables overall team transparency. So I now understand what's coming next, when it's going to be delivered. And if you're really good, you have a release schedule, which you'd be surprised. Some companies don't. I go in and help them figure out, we do need a release schedule now that marries up, right? So just imagine if you're the product owner, if you're a business owner and you need to get this out to market, understanding what is going to be built, by when, by whom, and where it is in the pipeline and the process. And I see questions coming in. I'm going to answer it in just a moment. Also, Agile enables early and often delivery of products and services, not to be confused with number 3. So I want to break down the difference real fast, all right? Because number 3 talks about faster delivery. But number 6 means we're delivering more often. Early and often delivery. Now we're competitive. We can compete, right? Because we're constantly working, churning and burning on producing incremental, right? Product increment. So we're delivering more often, which is great because we need to be in this society, right? Predictable outcomes. Also, last but not least, faster feedback loops, allowing teams to course correct and adapt. That's one of the most important pieces, right? Are we learning? What are we learning from what just happened? We should be learning along the way. All right, I have time to take a few questions. Neelan, I can take 3 questions or comments. And then
This is just a little bit, it's just a little bit of networking going on.
Oh,
yeah.
Network away. Have fun. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's all. Well, there was one earlier. Carol Howard She did ask, and you may cover this later. She just
Sure.
wanted to know, as you talk about the transformation, could you also talk about why the business sector is slow to embrace change?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to cover that. That's a great question, Carolyn.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep going. So I'm going to move this along a little bit faster, you all. Okay, so these are the benefits to becoming an agile organization. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to show you some companies that we all use, that we know and love. And out of the 3 companies I'm going to show you, I guarantee you use one of these companies, and you might be surprised to find out the reason why you're getting your products faster and you're in high quality products is because they are agile enterprises. Let's take a look at Netflix. So Netflix made a promise in 2020, right, that they were going to start to deliver new movies every week, right? By the way, they're completely leveraging the fact that the movie theater chain, right, AMC, all these movie theaters, we don't know what's going to happen with the future of them right now because they lost all this money. So Netflix as well, we can be competitive here. We can deliver a new title every week. So because of agile ways of working, Netflix, the streaming giant, can now guarantee its 193 million subscribers unseen features every week. So we're already seeing it, but they just didn't move to agile ways of working, you all. Agile also taught them some key lessons. For example, Agile taught Netflix no longer to spend money on pilot episodes, right? Pilot episodes were too robust, too heavy. They have too much overhead. They take too much time. They cost too much. Instead, we could actually use deep data analytics to determine if a title or show will be well received. And by the way, you probably didn't realize this, through this research and data and analytics, Netflix found out that their originals do far better than any of the shows that they buy from networks, which is why you see so many Netflix originals, by the way, because they're guaranteed to do better. Netflix also found out that they can keep you as a customer longer if their feedback and their action to feedback was swift, was much faster. So they found out that quickly responding to feedback from both the viewer experience, that means how you felt about the movie, right, as well as celebrity publicity. Now, this one is interesting. Let's say that Tom Hanks, for example, is in LA and he gets into a bar brawl, which I seriously doubt, but if he did, and his movie was streaming right now on Netflix, they are also attuned to social relevant causes. So they're able to see if there's any controversy and respond quickly to pulling things down or putting things up when there's a socially relevant opportunity. Again, Netflix is starting to attune itself to the culture and social tone. Pretty cool. Netflix also found out that if they became more compatible with partners and customers, they could grow faster. This is why you see Netflix now built into the televisions at hotel chains and resorts and all sort of things. All right, so let's move on. There's also Starbucks. So Starbucks actually has always had an agile mindset at the corporate level. What many people may not realize is that when Starbucks first got started, they weren't selling cups of coffee at all, right? In fact, Starbucks was selling beans, coffee beans. And as it would turn out, one day, early in the history of Starbucks, when they had all these grounds and beans in Seattle, there was a beautiful day on the boardwalk, and they thought, I have an idea. Why don't I brew some of these beans and actually turn it into cups of coffee samples and go and pass them out in order to lure people in? Well, guess what? People loved it. They sipped on the coffee, they came into the store, and this created a thriving environment. And that eureka moment happened where Starbucks said, wait a minute, we're in the wrong business model. We should be selling beans. We should be selling cups of coffee. And so I like to joke that Starbucks has always had an agile mindset. What's also interesting, you all, is that if you think you're going to go and get a tech job at Starbucks, one of their requirements and core principles is you have to come in the door with an agile mindset. I've got one more example, and then I'll answer the questions in the chat or the comments. Finally, Pfizer, right? Pfizer is considered an agile pharma organization. Now, one thing I want to say that's really interesting in this industry, you all, is because I work from sector to sector, each sector sort of has their own flavor, right, of agile, no pun intended from Starbucks flavor, but each sector, each organization has their own sort of flavor, right? And so if you're working in the pharmaceutical space and you're moving to agile ways of working, they call it agile pharma. And to them, this makes sense, right? Because they're not delivering technology products, they're delivering our vaccines and our shots, right? And everything else, our drugs. So because of agile ways of working, Pfizer is one of 2 pharmaceutical companies to achieve first authorization in the world for a vaccine to combat COVID-19. So as you can see, with these companies moving to agile ways of working, they're able to deliver products faster, enhance the customer experiences in most cases, and improve the way that they work. I'll pause here and I'll take questions or comments in the chat. Neelan, anything?
Let's see. So Sean said, I wonder if that's why, in reference to Netflix, I wonder if that's why they show more trailers. I believe they work better than pilot episodes anyways. And also a trailer is usually enough for someone to be interested or not in a series. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's exactly why.
We did get a really good, oh, this was good.
Oh, let's hear it.
Oh, there's some people in here named as you.
Dawn is asking Dawn a question.
I know, right? I'm like, is this you asking me this? But no, someone did bring up a good point.
Yeah.
What about organizational change management in Agile? The value of constantly engaging users on the project is a key value of OCM. Are there any specific OCM webinars that we can register for? Oh, okay.
Yes. And I'm going to get to that at the end. There's an entire framework around this. So hold that, and we can take one more, and then I need to move on because we have an exercise that I need to make sure we cover before 11. So one more question or a comment?
There was just a comment about how to balance waterfall and agile in a project, and if there's an ability for a hybrid mode.
Absolutely. And a lot of companies are actually doing that, right? They're not completely, because there are some teams by the way, not to derail, I have worked at a company where it did not make sense for them to do full scale agile. So we were doing a Kanban model. This was in a distribution warehouse space. Again, it's where it makes sense and what makes sense, but we'll keep going. And if you want,
there's something else to consider later. Someone asked about, how do you frame a contract with the same money and value in Agile? Agile financials, that's always like a as well. And somebody just talked about Scrum Bond. Yeah, so I mean, honestly, there's so many different questions. I know that you're going to cover some more of this stuff in further today, but I can make sure that you get all of these questions as well. That way you can reach out and supply some of these answers.
And that would be great, because I was going to say, obviously there's so much I could cover, and we're going to specifically focus on this today, but I'm going to make my contact information available for people who have very specific questions that I might not cover today. So, all right, so let's keep going, because I think what I set up here today is I built a case for you, for the most part, with why companies are having the appetite to move to agile ways of working. So this brings us to a good question. If so many companies are moving to agile, right, then how is it possible to work within these organizations yet not know what agile transformation means? So I'm going to break this down. So we're going to move in the presentation to this segment. So if this is the case, if everybody's excited, if the company's on board, right, and they're starting to win, how do we have people in the roles who still don't have a deep fundamental understanding of how agile impacts them outside of their role? I'm going to explain and unpack this. So let's focus. All right, so here's why. Here's one of the reasons for that. If you look at my screen, the one thing that is super obvious is that as you look at this, these are at the role level, right? We have agile leaders, which could mean on the business or the tech side, right? Basically, these are people who got tapped at the higher level from the C-suite, or it could be the C-suite that says, hey, you're getting ready to be accountable for driving or, kicking off this agile work in your area, your organization, right? So we've got agile leaders, whatever roles you want to put their company titles. We've got scrum masters, we've got product owners, and we've got developers, okay? What's really interesting about this is if you take a look, even visually at my screen, the one thing that is super obvious is that these are all vertical. That's because the certifications are vertical. Now, let me unpack this. So I'm going to ask you to just really zoom in and focus with me. So our Scrum frameworks, when we became a Scrum Master and a product owner or project manager, whatever your certification is in, it is an acute focus on the study of work in that role, right? And this is why as a Scrum Master, if you get the next level, you're going to continue to get the Scrum Master Advanced and another one Advanced. And if you're a developer, there's a track for you, right? And product owner. So come with me here for a second, right? Everything that you see on the screen is designed, uniquely designed to be a vertical experience. Well, what happens though, remember I told you that Agile became an underbelly market that grew even bigger than Scrum, right? It's an entire market experience. This is because Agile is not vertical. Agile, the transformation is a journey, right? That means it's horizontal. So I'm going to say this again. Agile spans across all of these roles, and it could mean that you're contributing in a different way. But most people only have the purview, that means the scope of the transformation from where they sit, right? So if you talk to a developer and you say, do you understand what's going on, developer? Do you understand that we're moving to Agile ways of working? The developer will say, yeah, that just means I need to write code in tandem to it being tested with my QA team, and right? Or people will give you their explanation because where you stand depends on where you sit. Okay. And what's happening is that these certifications are great. Don't get me wrong. These certifications got us a seat on the plane, right? So take a look at this visual, right? So each of our certifications gets us on a plane. That means it gets you the job, right? It gets you hired. You have the knowledge to get in and functionally do your part, right? But then this whole Agile transformation business happens, and it's horizontal. It spans across all of this. And we might not completely have all of the knowledge or the purview that we need. Because when you think about these seats on the plane, now I want you to reimagine the plane taking off. You have all these seats on the plane. You have everybody doing their incremental part to the best of their ability. But here are some huge unknowns that company leaders missed. Here are some things that we're assuming people know. Although we're on the plane, many people are afraid to ask this question. Seriously, where are we headed? Like, I know you're saying Agile transformation, but what does that mean? What's the destination, right? And how do we know when we've arrived on this plane, right? And why did we leave to begin with? Has that been made clear to you? Why did we? What is the pivotal reason why, and why now? This is important for the people on the plane. I don't know about you, but today in reality, you won't catch a plane and not know where you're going, right? And you also understand the goal of why you're leaving. You're vacationing, you're going for business, right? And who's flying this plane? By the way, right? As soon as you get on the plane, the first thing they do is they inform you who the pilot and co-pilot is and who are the flight attendants, right? Many people are just working. They're just sitting on the plane. They have no idea of the complete transparency and horizontal purview of what's going on, right? And then how long is this journey? When we say transformation, there's an argument out there where some people say, oh, you're always transforming. But in reality, everything has a scope, right? Maybe the kickoff portion is for this specific time frame. And then after that, it becomes BAU and we're just developing the capabilities in this space. But our people deserve to know some of these things. How long is the journey? What can we expect along the way? I mean, if there's turbulence, what do we do in an emergency, right? How many passengers are on this plane, by the way? I recently did an Agile Teams training for a team that was 2 teams, and I had about 50 people show up. That was out of scope. They just wanted the training, right? So do your people have the answers to these questions, right? And then as a passenger, what is my real role and responsibility? What is my contribution on this journey? It can't just be to develop and deliver value, right? Am I able to mentor? Am I able to take an effective role? Can I teach? Once I graduate, am I able to help another team, right? Can I consult with a leader, with an Agile leader, and share with them my experience on the ground? So again, these are all assumptions. We're assuming, many leaders assume that the people on the plane have the answers to these questions when in fact they don't, not all of them, right? And then what about the tools? What about the tools we need during transformation? Not just being told, go and do, and not just having a process, right? Because at the heart of transformation are people. Our process is great for helping us coordinate PI planning sessions and knowing what to do, but what about how to do it? How do I really address conflict if I'm a product owner? What about if I'm a Scrum Master? How do I coach right? The Scrum Guide says, be a servant leader. It doesn't tell you how, just tells you what is expected from you. People are missing the fundamental tools they need to be successful, and not just at the process level, at the people level, right? And then how will we define success? Are we going to define success just because the plane took off? Are we giving ourselves credit just for taking off or for landing, and how many stops in between? And the most important question, you all, is this a one-way flight? Are we just playing around here? Are we just trying something? Or are we doing this? And we're not looking back, not this team. These are all of the questions that many people want to ask that right now are unanswered, right? And then, so in my coaching, in my consultancy, the reason I put this together is because many of these I'm seeing across the board. See, when you think about transformation by definition, transformations are dramatic. They're not easy, right? They're not a silo thing. If this changes, then this has to change, right? They're dramatic in change and form or appearance. And they can be extreme and radical. And it's this dramatic extremism that can create enterprise panic and disruption if not well managed. We see this all the time. So I want to ask you all a question today. In your opinion, what are some reasons companies may be hesitant to move to agile ways of working? Do you think it's because it's extreme, it's dramatic? I'm going to be able to take maybe 2 questions, 2 or 3, and then we'll keep going because we have an exercise to cover. So why do you all think companies are hesitant? And Neelan, if you'll help me here, it looks like we got lots in the chat. So
Yeah, we have some movement in the chat. We see that they're resistant to change. It's unfamiliar. I see accountability. So I take that as, if this fails, they don't want their name on it.
Yeah.
Like, the fear of the unknown. Lack of skilled resources in the area.
Okay.
And
So not just this question, could you find a question that happened before now that someone was maybe trying to ask and I just didn't pause? I just want to
Yeah, there was one. Hold on. My company performs fixed price contracts for customers. The customer develops a RFP with the requirements that are to be delivered and are expected to deliver those requirements. How would Agile work in that environment?
Okay, that's a consult. Let's have a conversation, because when we get that specific, it's going to take much more than just a few seconds to answer that. So definitely reach out to me, and then Neil, could you just capture for me who that was so I can answer their
question?
That
was Lawrence. Yeah,
okay.
I'll obviously have that.
Okay, perfect. So you all are giving some very good reasons why companies are hesitant, right? And I just kind of set that up too, right? Is that it's dramatic. Some people don't like disruption. They feel it's going to be disruptive, right? You want different results, but sometimes you got to disrupt things, right? In a safe way. No pun intended with the framework safe. So let's keep going. So the number one reason that I see is that while many Agile transformation efforts and trainings focus largely on the process of transforming, like I said, very few focus on how to lead the people at the heart of the transformation effectively. So what I'm going to show you all now, and you'll probably want to zoom in and focus on the next slide, I'm going to give you a holistic view of the phases of Agile transformation from the people experience. And I will say this to you, regardless of what framework your company is using, regardless of if they're using XP, the scaled agility model through SAFe, right, Lean, it doesn't matter. The phases I'm going to show you still are relevant in how Agile transformations impact people, right? Let's take a look at that. So this is a model that we put together after years of working in this space. And really, when it comes to transforming at a high level, again, this is a high scale, there are about 5 phases, but the first phase I call phase 0 because this is winning the work. So for transparency, I'm going to show many of the people on the call, some of you for the first time, what happens before you actually become an Agile team, right? What's happening in the background, so you can have a fundamental understanding of the upfront piece that you probably don't get to see. Okay, so here's what generally happens in what I call phase 0. Okay, so phase 0 is client development, relationship building, scope, and scale. This is where a C-suite leader reached out to a consultancy company and said, hey, we're considering Agile ways of working. We need some help. or where a consultant sees the opportunity. In either case, you all, this phase 0, this happens first in every case. And usually this is about a 4, it can be to 8 to multiple weeks process. And in most cases, the company or consultancy trying to win this work, when they're putting this pitch together, this why Agile deck, it's not always billable. So I just want to, and the reason I'm touching on all pieces is because I'm sensitive to the fact that I have some people on this call today who want to be service providers in this space. So I'm sharing that with you. Typically, this is a consultancy firm who is an external coach or consultant, and they want to win this relationship and prove that they can help this company transform. This back and forth relationship could take weeks to secure, but once it happens, here's what happens next. So what happens next is, let's say the relationship is one, the company says, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to try you out. We're going to start with a lighthouse team, a pilot team, right? So this is just a few of my teams. Again, scope and scale happens at this level, right? Which teams are we going to run with first? This conversation happens before it gets to you, project managers and scrum masters, okay? So here's what happens. We move to phase 1. Phase 1 is really important. You cannot have an effective Agile transformation if you skip this phase, because in this phase, the discovery activities are very important. Now, how long this phase takes depends on how aggressive the company wants to be. I know companies who are doing this phase in 1 week. In my own experience, I've done this in a 30-day period, right? It really depends. I don't want to too much get into that here. But in phase 1, this is really important because this is where discovery activities happen, like understanding the team's Agile maturity level, right? Do we have novices here? Do we have people who worked in an Agile environment? How much exposure? And when was the last time, okay? Also, by the way, this is a coach or a consultant. This could be the same consultant who won the work, right? Who now has on their coach hat. Many consultants can also coach in this space. Like me, I'm certified to do both, okay? Or the consultancy will bring on a coach. So this is why you get an external coach in the beginning. I hope this is making sense, you all. Because if you ever asked yourself, how did this person get here, right? I'm helping you understand how this happened, okay? So in phase 1, here's what it should look like, okay? This is our recommendation, is that number 1, it's about discovery. We should not get a coach come in the first day, right? And actually verbally telling the team, oh, you need to change this. You need to do this differently. Phase 1 is all about observation. It's discovery. It's asking questions. It's assessments, right? There's an entire approach to this. There's also observing what's happening now, attending the Scrum events. This is why if your company has hired an external coach, that first phase, they're invited to the events. They want to see what you're doing, right? So you seek to understand before seeking to be understood, okay? Now, what's interesting about this phase is that the outcome, and it's really important because when I talk about activities, I also talk about outcomes. We should not have activities where there's no output or outcome expected. So the entire purpose of phase 1 is because a customized coaching plan, an Agile coaching plan is going to be created based on what's discovered in this phase. That means it's not a cookie cutter approach. Right? It's not always a cookie cutter approach. It's about meeting the team where they are. And what's really important, so Scrum Masters, Agile leaders, even though a coach or a consultant externally might be leading this phase of the work, they can't do it without you. They need the buy-in of leadership. That means they need you, if you're an Agile leader on this call, to communicate down, top-down approach, to say, this is what we're doing, this is who's here, this is how long this phase will be, right? Then we need Scrum Masters to help us facilitate these meetings. We need product owners to help us understand the product, right? And customer persona and more. So phase 1 is discovery and assess. Then we move to phase 2, right? So we're going to assume a coaching plan has been created. We're getting ready to kick off and train, right? And this is where a kickoff, a boot camp may happen, Agile teams training, adoption activities. This is where things start to change. And again, this is led by a coach who now has on their trainer hat. I want to be real clear because in Agile leadership, there are 5 hats of leadership. There's consulting, there's coaching, there's facilitator, right? There's mentor, there's teacher, trainer, same thing, right? And depending on the situation, depending on where you are in the phase, you may wear a different hat, okay? So again, in order for this to be successful, we have to partner with product managers and Scrum teams, right? Then there's the coaching and development phase. Again, this is where one-on-one coaching happens, team level coaching, right? Again, this is a coach, this is Agile leaders. And then the coach during the transformation, a coach like me is not designed to stay with you forever. I'm designed to make sure that the right people are empowered. And so it's all about capability strengthening. So now we're looking to work with the Center of Excellence in the Agile space, right? That might mean standing it up, right? We may create an Agile playbook and ongoing activities, but this is the phase where the coach hands off that to the Scrum Master. Now we have to empower our Scrum Masters to carry on the work, okay? So as you can see, when you look at this from the people journey, you'll see that there's a symbiotic relationship requiring role clarity, cross collaboration, and meeting people where they are. And regardless of your framework, right, none of this can be achieved without earning and building trust, turning activities into outcomes, and empowering and reassuring people, okay? So at this point, I'm going to pause real quick because I just want to make sure that what I just mentioned was clear. Are there any questions? I can take one or two, Neil.
There's some of them are like really specific. Like one of them is what timelines are needed for each gate. Like, you know, gate 1 to gate 4, how many days or weeks.
Yep.
I don't know if they're talking about like sprint, like, you know, sprint lengths, because
yeah, what I would say is at the end of this, I'm going to give you all resources. So there's an entire resource that breaks down how this, like the execution of this, like timelines, the questions you ask, the activities. There's an entire, so if it's okay with you, I don't want to eat up too much time.
Someone asked about, some of these are kind of like fundamental ones, but
okay.
They're saying on this slide, what's the difference between a coach and a scrum master?
Oh yeah, so let's talk about that really quickly because we got a little bit more to cover. So as I laid out, usually a scrum master is not going to be at the program level, right? They're not going to be at the organizational, the enterprise level. The scrum master is attuned to the scrum team, right? And so on this slide, this is why in the beginning of the phase, usually an external coach or consultant who's been hired to approach this at an enterprise organizational level is coming in to sort of head off this work. Now, during this parallel sort of symbiotic relationship, you're utilizing the Scrum Master's strength at the same time, because the goal is to empower the Scrum Master at the end, the Scrum Masters, to continue the coaching after you leave, coach, right? So think about this as maybe an external coach or an enterprise coach. I hope I answered the question, but we're going to keep going. If you have deeper questions, please reach out to me. All right. All right. So most of Agile transformations fail, right? In the beginning. And actually, it's okay. And this scares people. When I say this, this is the reality, right? In fact, 47%, I shouldn't say most, 47% of Agile transformations fail, according to Scrum Inc. Now, fail just means we learn from. We learn something. We're going to do something different. Fail is not like the end all be all, you all. Fail just means that we tried it the first time and we almost got it right, but we learned that we need to do this differently, okay? So there are 5 big reasons why Agile transformations fail in the beginning, right? Some of them are that they take too long. Timelines haven't been specified. We shouldn't be in phase 1 forever. We shouldn't be in phase 2 forever. A good coaching plan will communicate clearly expected and articulated timeframes for each phase so that you set the expectation and people understand what's expected of them, right? I also seen transformations where people stop and start, right? Also, the Agile transformation process is limited to the process only and not the people, the way I just shared with you. Also, lack of executive leadership at the top. I've seen this really not go well. This is where you get only mid-level leadership's buy-in and you try something in a silo and no one shared this with the C-suite or the executive top chain. And so the right communication, the right support didn't happen. Sometimes when we don't get the support we need, it's because we don't have top level leadership, okay? Also, there's a lack of Agile understanding, which is why it's really important in the beginning to do that discovery to understand the Agile maturity of the team so you can understand what type of teams training they'll need in phase 2. And then number 5, comparing to others versus unique thinking. We're looking over the fence at what other people or other companies did, comparing ourselves. So these are some of the reasons why Agile transformations fail. But since this is not a failure talk, this is about succeeding, Right now, we're going to look at 5 big reasons why Agile transformations are successful, because that's where I want us to focus on. Number 1, the Agile mindset culture was introduced from the beginning, right? From the very beginning to the right people. Because this is the thing about the Agile mindset. I did a different talk with another PMI chapter, and I talked about motivating the Agile mindset instead of mandating it, right? A lot of people think that in order to have an Agile mindset culture, you need 100% of the people on board, when in fact, what you need first is to identify your Agile allies, your ambassadors. Who else is pro-Agile and why? And really helping to sort of champion that message, okay? Also, top-down leadership approach helps us to be successful. Ability to embrace creative risk, measurable success and outcomes, and leverage momentum of successful average teams, or excuse me, leverage momentum of successful Agile teams. Let me just talk real quick about number 3 and number 5, because I don't know that they're as clear as they could be. So number 5 is saying once you do have success, once you have a team that is winning, that pilot team, that lighthouse team, tell the story, right? Create a deck, a highlight deck, a reel that says, hey, this is what just happened. Even if it's early, leverage the momentum of your successful teams to continue to sort of sell the agility throughout the organization, right? Momentum is a huge motivator. And sometimes I see teams that are gung-ho about moving to Agile ways of working. They've had some success and they're not telling their story, right? So that part is important. I'm going to pause here because we have our exercise coming up. So let me just take 1 or 2 questions or comments. Neelan?
Bob says it's interesting to see the Agile transformation process.
Yeah, it's been kept a secret. It's like the big top secret.
He said he sees some elements of Waterfall in there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people look at, sometimes you can look at, I don't know, sprint as many projects in the way, or like, you know, many, like you start, you know, you're starting and then you're ending, you're delivering value at the end of each sprint.
Yeah.
So I guess I could see that.
I think he's saying, if the person who said that, forgive me for not remembering the name, but
oh, Bob, yeah.
So Bob, if you're saying that the view that I showed you looks waterfall-ish as far as that transformation view, it very much is intentionally. And isn't it interesting that in order to launch Agile, so to speak, you use kind of a method, a transformation journey that feels a bit waterfallish, which is contrary to what we're doing. But here's why that's important. That's a great observation. Because if you do it, this is something you can't do in parallel. Some things cannot be done in tandem, right? A good coach and a consultant from the outside does not want to come in day 1 and observe and then try to coach on performance, right? A big mistake that we teach that coaches will sometimes do is during the first meeting, they'll start doing what's called performance coaching, or what we call responsive coaching, right? They're responding to something. And you want to be real careful with that, because you can't quite respond until you understand if someone's been trained. We get people who confuse training and coaching, right? It's really difficult to coach someone on a standard that they haven't been taught. And so in our philosophy and the framework that I teach, this is why you first want to make sure that these people, you know, that your team understands what's going to be expected, and you set the standard for this.
Yeah, Pamela mentioned, which is just a comment. She said, you know, if you're doing an Agile transformation in a firm, establish a war room where others can walk in and, you know, they can see and learn and observe. And just, the whiteboards with the posts are excellent. And that really ties into, you know, the transparency part, you know, which is one of the key tenets of, Scrum, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, all great feedback, you all. And right now we're getting ready to do our exercise. I see, it looks like someone has drawn on the presentation. Do you see that as well, or is it just me, Neelan?
Oh, I do see that.
I didn't do it, so that's interesting. All right, maybe it's one of the other dawns. All right, so you all, so this is what I want to encourage you to do. Our next, our exercise is only 10 minutes. This is really going to be important for us to really, if you can, please engage, because I'm getting ready to show you how to create your own transformation roadmap. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 10 minutes and we are going to, each team, we're going to put you in breakout rooms, which we've already got set up. So there's no thinking here, right? Each team must build and create an Agile transformation roadmap using only these 5 objectives. Now, if these 5 objectives look familiar, it's because I just showed them to you on the 5 reasons why transformations succeed. So again, somebody wrote on the screen, okay? So what we want you to do is when you go into your breakout rooms, we want you to turn each objective into a plan. So for example, Agile mindset culture, right? What would you do to achieve this? What would be some steps that you would do to achieve the Agile mindset culture, right? Or top-down Agile buy-in approach, right? What would you do to ensure you have the top-down Agile buy-in approach? How do you actualize this? So that's all we're looking for you to do is in 10 minutes, just take these 5 steps and figure out how to turn this into a plan that we'll call the Agile Transformation Roadmap. Now, this is not a perfect roadmap, but it's just to simulate how you should think about it. The other thing I want you to think about is, would you keep these in the same order? Are these ordered well? You might say, wait a minute, Dawn, top-down approach has to come before Agile mindset. We need the buy-in of a leader, right? So I'm very curious to know how you would do this. Now, in order to be successful with this exercise, you might want to take a picture of this. You'll also need a person to write or type and a person to present when we come back in 10 minutes. Now, again, what I would do if I were you, as soon as I get in the breakout room, I'd identify who took the picture, who's going to write, who's going to present, and then let the work begin. Are there any questions? Do we have a question in the chat? I just want to make sure the instruction is clear.
Yeah, someone's just asking where are these access rooms, Malcolm? But Malcolm, we'll
Malcolm.
put them.
Yeah. We're getting ready to put you there. We just needed to make sure you understood first. Okay.
Yeah, how many people did you want in the rooms? We have about 104 on the line. How many rooms did you want?
If you could do 10 rooms, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, 10 rooms would be great. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Make sure you take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture of the screen, guys.
With the red line included.
Okay.
Okay.
Did it?
And we'll be back in 10 minutes. So we'll be back right at like 10:32.
Okay, I'm still here, Dawn. It's moving them.
Okay, perfect, Neelan. Good. Good. We're doing pretty okay on timing. So
I can let me see.
Hey, Neelan.
Yes, is this
Will?
Will, hey, Will.
I regret I gotta jump off here. I volunteered for transporting coronavirus vaccines today, and it is becoming a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be. So, I hate to do it, but I have to go.
Okay.
Maybe we can catch up later. Thanks for your service in that way.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah. Will is actually one of our volunteers for the chapter.
Okay.
But yeah, Will, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate you letting me know. And
Yes, sir.
Let's be in touch soon.
All right. Thanks, man. See ya. Bye, Don.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Good, Neelan.
Don, I paused the recording too, by the way.
Oh, perfect. Good. Neelan, how's it going so far? Are you feeling like it's well-rounded? People are getting, what they need, getting some of their questions answered?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. There's still
23 people here.
Yeah,
Well, what happens is if they said not now, like if they're opting not to join the breakout room, then they may, because there's an option, they may be still there. So.
Okay.
Okay, so Neelan, I'm gonna pause my camera here, and what I'm gonna do is at 10:30, I'll send a message that says we're returning, or you could send one of us can send a message to all rooms.
At 10:30? Okay.
Yeah, we'll send a message saying that we're gonna regroup at 10:32. Okay.
10:32?
Yeah, is that okay? Or am I?
Yeah, 10:32. Like You're not saying TOO, you're saying the number.
Oh yeah, at 10:32, the number like
Yeah, okay, okay.
yeah. So at 10:30, we'll send a nice little 2-minute message to say we're coming back at 10:32, not 10:33, but 10:32.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so if you're back with me, welcome back. Igor, I see you, so I'm just going to ask you, Igor, can you hear us okay? And are you enjoying yourself so far? Igor, or Igor, I don't know if I pronounced that right. You're on mute, by the way. But good, we're bringing people back. So awesome. I see people starting to come back slowly but surely. So
Yeah, they're coming
yeah.
through. They got 15, 14, 15, 13 seconds. It's it'll pop them out eventually.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear what people came up with. And of course we'll do it. We'll and you know, people don't know what teams they're in too. So yeah, what we'll do is Neelan, we will get just a couple of teams to volunteer so people themselves know what teams they were in. So we'll actually, we want to hear from 3 teams. We have time for 3 teams. So if you're coming back, welcome back. We're glad you're still here. We're going to be wrapping up soon, but we got some great stuff at the end. So stay to the end to get your PDUs. So we're asking 3 teams to volunteer. So 3 teams to have their presenter present verbally what their roadmap looks like and why. So who wants to be the first team to volunteer? Who do we have?
Okay, so Julia, was that? I know you said team 5 is good to go. That's the first person. So are you raising your hand for team 5 to go? And if so, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can't wait to hear what you all came up with, Julia.
Okay.
So super duper quick. So how can we achieve this mindset culture? So we kept it as, just for the sake of time, we kept the current roadmap objectives as is, but how can we achieve an agile mindset culture? So we really wanted to give examples, be transparent from the very beginning about why we want to do this, and setting up our team to make sure that we communicate effectively about why we want to be doing this, and why it's really important for our business and for everybody's jobs. So how will we achieve a top-down buy-in agile approach? So we really started by talking about having the CIO or that CTO or the person at the top to present the case about why we need to be doing this in our business.
Yeah.
I think you might be able to hear me. But at the same time, we did discuss kind of how do we embrace creativity and risk. We did have an excellent example in our group about how an HR professional actually took the lead and being that kind of middle person between corporate management and the people who are going to be doing the work every single day, and being that, you know, that key stakeholder, that key leader in the company. So I thought that was a great example about embracing creativity and risk. That it's not just a top-down approach, it's getting buy-in from the top and bottom, and having that person in the middle that really supports and strengthens the corporate objectives of the Agile transformation. And then measuring success, we're talking about adoption rate, we're talking about how people feel about actually using the technology to make their jobs a little bit easier. So if we're talking about digital transformation and we're talking about agile transformation, having that leadership and technology integration and having people really at this point feeling like they're part of the solution was a very key indicator about how things are going in the business. And then last, leveraging momentum of successful agile teams. Are people really understanding about why this is important, and are we at the same place that we thought we were going to be at the very, very beginning?
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You all did a lot in 10 minutes. I love it. I love it. Good job, Julie. I wish we had more time. I would usually when I do these, I have you name your team and it gets a lot of fun. Of course, you know, we're limited here, but great work, team. Okay, can we get a next volunteer? And if you could present to us in about 2 minutes or less, who's the next team?
We have team 7.
Awesome. Team 7, let's hear from you. Who's the presenter? Who's going to present Team 7's roadmap?
Honest, their name in here says Don McElwain. So,
all right, Don, let's do it.
All right, is 7 ready?
Come on, Team 7, let's hear from you. Team 7, you need a moment?
If not, we do Team 9.
Okay, let's hear from Team 9 and maybe we go back to 7 or let someone else.
Yeah, Ronald Hall.
All right, come on, Team 9. Let's hear from you.
Hey, good morning, folks. Can everyone hear me?
Good morning, Ron.
Oh,
Hi.
fantastic. I hope everyone's doing fantastic today. So we let me jump straight into it. So we looked at the first two items and we combined them into one. So we're talking about having a leadership meeting where we invite folks from different parts of the organization, infrastructure, security, some of those key stakeholders from QA. And we talk about the transformation. We talk about the lean agile mindset, values, principles, et cetera, talk them about what the implementation would look like, maybe walk them through a brief example of some of the high level activities from the program, portfolio, team level, just giving them an overview. Then we talk about organizing around value for the third item here. For my thing, maybe we can do like some value stream mapping exercises, understand risk dependencies, teams, systems that they may be working with, start to build that team. Again, having transparency within that roadmap. We want to start to have like measurable like things like qualitative and quantitative measurements. Yeah. We understand like, maybe in some of the dimensions where we're looking to improve time to market, product fit, quality, early return on investment. We want to make sure that we are able to measure those things. And once we have that success, as you said, we want to preach that or let the rest of the organization know. And again, this may be just one small slice of the organization that, we've gotten buy-in. Usually what I call like my triad or my power trio to help me really sell this and get, support from the other parts of the organization. Mm-hmm. And that was it. But we had a fun time and great activity. Thanks so much.
Good. Awesome. I love to hear that. You can tell I'm high energy, so I love this stuff. Great work, team 9. Okay, we have someone with their hand up. Jagar, I hope your hand is up because you're telling me you're trying to present.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, from team 7.
Jagar, what team are you from?
7.
Oh, 7. Okay, great. Awesome. So we got 7 in there.
Let's do it. In 2 minutes or less, Jagar, please.
Okay, I'll try that. Yeah. So basically for the agile mindset culture, I would first understand the company's perspective, why they want to go agile by asking a series of questions on why, and then understand what is their understanding of agile, because sometimes team wants to go agile, but a company wants to go agile, but they are not aware of the agile way of working. So need to teach them on that. Then for the top-down agile buy-in approach, as we discussed that many organizations we found the difficulty that we got a sponsor, but after that it is very difficult to move the upper management team. So in that case, we can go with a POC approach. That one small team can start with a agile way of working, like doing Scrum and things, and then we do the measurements for that team, and we can show the measurements and results to the top management to get their buy-in. And in this, we are mitigating the risk of not completely making a big bang approach. Rather, we are going with the small things. So first one team, then second team, third team, like that we can go ahead, and that is how we can show them the results going forward by giving the by deciding the matrices like the employee happiness index or NPS, something like that.
Okay.
That is how we can go agile for the whole transformation. Rather than going a big bang approach, it will be a one by one team approach.
Yeah. Good job. Listen, and I think Jagar, someone said that are you with team 4? Because I think team 7 is still trying to speak. Was your team 4, Jagar, or team 7? Do you remember?
I'm not sure because it shows team. It's like meeting room number 7. It was showing to me.
So. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Team 7. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I think in the chat, someone else is bursting at the seams to go. And if that's the case, if you can do it in under 2 minutes, because I need to keep going by 10:45. So if one more team is ready to go and you keep it, solid, let's go. Anyone else? I could have swore I thought there was some activity where somebody wanted to speak.
There was, but I think
Okay.
I saw some from Team 4, but I think it's that they thought they were.
Oh, okay.
They're
Okay.
Team 7, but they thought they were Team 4. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, team. Would anyone else like to go in the next 2 minutes? If not, I'm going to keep moving. Let's see. Okay. Got it. Let's roll. Thanks, Malcolm. Let's roll. Okay, let's keep going. I think you all get the gist of it. But listen, this is what I'm trying to get across to you all, project managers. Yes. Okay, we're going to mute everybody, Neelan, and then we're going to keep moving. So project managers, and regardless of what your role is, what I wanted you to think through today is I wanted you to think critically about the transformation, because what you did here today is exactly the type of assertion that you can take. You can stand up and you can say, right? Because, and I just want to, this is really important for this community to hear. Oftentimes we think that we are compelled by our roles and we say, oh, somebody else is doing that, right? I'm just such and such, right? No, today you've shown and proved that you can think critically about each of these success objectives. Why aren't we standing up and volunteering and saying, hey, I can take an active role with Agile mindset. I'm on board, I can be an ally, and I can rally up some ambassadors, and we can create a Why Agile presentation. I want to volunteer. So oftentimes I see us take seats on the plane, and I'm inviting you to take a stand. Don't just have a seat. Your information, the way you did this, the way you executed this in 10 minutes tells me that we can think critically, and it's not about roles. Remember, Agile transformation is irrespective of a role. You can take a stand. There's opportunity here. So as you saw today and everything I set up, now you understand that when it comes to Agile transformation, we need consultants who can help Agile leaders understand the scope of Agile transformation and its many moving parts. And guess what, project managers? Sometimes you have to be the consultant. I'm going to say it again because this is like mind-boggling. We don't see ourselves in this way, right? Someone continues to draw on the screen and it's driving me crazy. I'm trying not to let my, okay. So
maybe a way you can lock it down on your side. I'm not sure. I don't have the ability, but yeah.
Yeah, I have to keep going into annotate and clearing it. It's cool. So project managers, this is what I'm trying to implore. Scrum masters, whatever your role is, do not bound yourself by role, because Agile transformation is irrespective of your role and we all can be a contributor. Sometimes project managers need to put on their consultant hat. And they need to share with Agile leaders what they're seeing, what they're feeling. If you already went through a transformation, you should absolutely be at the table and volunteering your knowledge and saying, this is what happened in our last company. How can I help? Or this is what I experienced, right? This is your consulting hat. You're trying to solve a problem, right? Or create a result, okay? We also need coaches, right? We need coaches like you who can motivate teams to maintain the Agile mindset. So if you are a positive glass half full person, and even if you're not, by the way, we need to allow room for the pessimists. I'm going to say that again, because there's this whole notion that there's only one way and people who don't have the Agile mindset are ridiculed. We need to leave space for the person who thinks that this might fail, because guess what? We need to reassure them, and it could. And if it does, we'll keep on trying and we'll learn from it and we'll keep going. Acting like it's not going to happen isn't helping it. So we need coaches who can really just drive this mindset, right? Whether you're an external, whether you're inside. If you want to coach, raise your hand and stand up on this plane and say what you want to do and how you can contribute, right? We also need coaches who can offer Scrum Masters more ways to embrace Agile ways of working. I can't tell you how many Scrum Masters I coach who are frustrated. You know why? Because we do one thing in a season and sometimes Scrum Masters are like, but we just trained them, Dawn, we just coached them. Why aren't they getting it? Because people need constant reminding. It's a transformation. It is not an overnight thing. If you have to remind people multiple times, do that. If you have to reassure people multiple times, continue to do that. That is part of the transformation process, okay? We also need coaches and Scrum Masters who can provide tips and techniques that help to promote team engagement and readiness in this space. That means helping your team take an active role, being enrolled in the process, not just showing up at meetings with their cameras turned off, but how can we teach the tips and techniques to really get that engagement and the buy-in from the team. So I think what you're hearing me say today in the last 10 minutes is that regardless of your certifications, right? Beyond the vertical certifications that we all hold, project manager, scrum master, product owner, whatever it is, right? I think what you witnessed here today is eventually we'll all need to understand the many moving parts of enterprise agile transformation and our role within this as we look to effectively lead and support our people. So in closing, if you're sitting here today and this was eye-opening for you, or this piqued your curiosity in any way, then great, that's what I came to do. And if you want to strengthen your knowledge in this space, right? If maybe you're an agile leader and you found out you're going to be leading and driving more teams, whether you're on the business or tech side, or you're a scrum master and you're launching not just one team, but multiple teams, right? It's not uncommon now for scrum masters to be tied to more than one team, whether we like it or not, right? Or maybe you're a product owner and guess what? You're the one tasked with having to explain to the stakeholder for the first time that we're moving to agile ways of working. And here's what that means for you, right? And here's what that means in general, right? And also you have to enable the creation of value, not just the delivery of value. So if this is you, or you're a developer, developers, maybe you're tasked with mentoring new developers who haven't worked in an agile environment. Maybe you're a mentor. If either of these roles are you, right, then the fastest way to grow and advance and take advantage of the thriving market that we're in is to think beyond your vertical and start to speak the horizontal language of agile transformation. So if anybody wants to strengthen and increase their knowledge, if you're interested in increasing your skills or your confidence in this space, I want to just talk to you about a powerful course that's a certified Agile Transformation professional course. So in this market, there is now a course that is certified, that is moving towards accreditation that you can take advantage of. It's a 2-day virtual classroom, or it's offered as an online self-paced course. There are tons of people who already took it. They're already certified. If you want to learn more, just go to agileeducate.com. Again, it's agileeducate.com. Now, if you're good and you don't need this, ignore me. But if you want to compete and advance and really have not just a seat on the plane, but take a stand, then I would implore you to go and strengthen your knowledge holistically in this space. And when you do, because of our partnership with PMI, you can get 30% off when you use Metrolina. So again, that's agileeducate.com. What I love about this course is it doesn't matter what your role is, right? You can take it, and when you take this course, it's going to cover how to gain the agile buy-in of your leaders, right? How do we gain the buy-in? What does a pitch deck look like at the very beginning? What needs to be in that pitch deck, and how do I create it to speak to the agility styles of the leaders, right? We can't ignore that. If you have a leader who's very data heavy, they don't care about the pretty pictures. They want to know about companies who won using Agile, who are similarly modeled. How do you create that pitch deck, the Why Agile deck, right? Or maybe ways to motivate the Agile mindset from the very beginning so that you're not constantly trying to revamp the mindset, but you motivate it by including people, finding out who your allies are at the beginning, okay? Also, if you want to learn how and when to consult versus coach versus mentor, they're not the same thing, but in Agile Transformation, you'll use all 5 of the hats. Again, this course is going to teach you that. Also, if you want the tools and techniques to empower your teams long-term, that means beyond an external coach coming to your company, how do you reaffirm the capabilities? How do you make sure when that coach leaves or that consultant leaves, your scrum teams, your product owners have what they need? They're properly stood up. I'm not talking about a process. I'm talking about how we motivate people. So if these things appeal to you, you want the certification, the professional designation, I recommend that you go to Agile Educate. What's pretty cool about this is, again, it doesn't matter your role. If you're an Agile coach and you're just starting off and you want this certification to deepen your coaching experience, you should do this, okay? If you're a Scrum Master, if you're a product owner, it doesn't matter. This course is perfect for all roles. And again, you get 30% off. Go to Agile Educate to learn more, okay? With that being the case, you all, we're going to do a recap, and then at the end, I will ask questions. So you may want to take pictures of this screen because this recaps and summarizes everything we talked about here today. So let's recap it in 5 points, okay? Number 1, the one takeaway I really want to implore you with is that the Enterprise Agile Transformation Services is now a market. It's no longer a process. It's not a program. It's an entire booming, thriving market. It would behoove you to understand Agile transformation and your role in it, whether your certifications are vertical or horizontal. Number two, it's one of the fastest growing industries spanning across various market sectors. That means if you want to try out new industries, new sectors, by all means, do not box yourself in. You are a personal brand. Some people get really, really tied to one thing. So I'm hopefully motivating you to do more, okay? To compete in advance, Agilists will need to understand the many moving parts of the horizontal impacts. Also, there are many opportunities. I just showed you so many opportunities for you. Don't just have a seat, take a stand. If you know something, say something. If you want to help, volunteer. These companies are hungry for internal talent. They're hungry to know who already knows something, who's already experienced this. And if you pass the first grade, you're qualified to teach people in the first grade how you passed. Don't take that for granted. And remember, don't underestimate what you can bring to this market. The Netflixes, the Starbuckses, the Pfizers, they all want what you know, okay? So with that being the case, we're gonna pause here and I'm gonna ask you one question like I do at the end of all of my sessions. What is one thing you learned today in this talk that you might share with others? We just wanna hear a couple of shareables. You can put it in the text or you can come off mute. One thing that you learned here today that you will share with others. Hopefully someone's got something. Or I did.
I can share. I learned a lot today because I'm new to all this. Okay, so I learned a lot.
Yay!
The 5 steps: top-down leadership, leverage your momentum of success, ability to embrace creativity, measurements, success, and outcome.
Yes.
So I learned all that today. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Vivian. That warms me. Great. This is why I do this. I love like people and supporting people. So thank you. Anyone else? Let's hear, what is a shareable? Where are you going to go tell somebody else? I'm a brand. That's right, Regina. If I could high five you, you are a brand, you all. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters where you work, but outside of this, you're already great. You're already enough. These companies want what you know and what you have. You're a brand. Takesha, Agile Transformation is booming absolutely in every industry. You better believe it.
Hi, Takesha. I would like to give my feedback here.
Yes.
I already have a SAFe certification, and I'm really into Agile right now because I think this is the right movie. Mostly now with this pandemic, it's showing that companies need to be Agile to keep and survive.
Absolutely.
So it's really booming. And I think this is the way, because project management, I think most of the people here has a project management background. It's heavy. It's so many documentation. It's just so many paperwork.
Yeah.
And I was showing that we need to do things. We need to document, of course, but it has to be light.
Absolutely.
And flow, fast thinking, and everybody has to be together, not only the PM. Everybody needs to contribute. That's the big thing about Agile that I love it.
That's wonderful. Erica, thank you for sharing that wonderful feedback. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. The world is changing. What they want is changing. We can't just hold fast and say, no, I'm not going to change. You're going to get this or not, right? You'll be over there. Okay.
But there's no choice.
There's no choice. It's happening all around us in every sector. So let's look at what else. One more thing from the chat. Kenyatta says, thank you, Dawn. I learned a lot of how important the Agile business is as a service and now wanting to develop a consulting business. Great. That's booming. We should talk, Kenyatta. Takesha, create and deliver value. You all, the fastest way to advance, figure out how to create and deliver value. Don't just be a value delivery enabler. Start thinking, right, in an innovative way based on this product, because remember, Agile is product centric. It's no longer project centric. Start thinking about, what is this customer persona? What might they want? What would I want if I was this customer? So I could go on all day. So I'm going to keep going right now. But listen,
Yeah, this is Mamita. So
Hi.
I appreciate this webinar. And I feel that from this time on, even if there is a resistance, what I take from here, that if there is a resistance that I see in the organization, I would suggest partly Waterfall, partly Agile, so that people start understanding the benefits of Agile, and then they embrace. Good things are always embraced by others once they start getting the outputs, So I would say I would start off with a hybrid model after this, because this webinar was really, really encouraging.
Oh, thank you very much for saying that. And that's what I want to bring to this. There's, for whatever reason, there's so many big secrets and silos, people learn things, and I want to come here and put the transparency here. We should know the moving parts. We should know what our options are and our opportunities so that we can be a massive contributor. So thank you for saying that. You all, we're at the end, so I just want to say this. First, I want to thank you. If you found this talk helpful at all, you can book me to speak remotely at your organization. Currently, I'm speaking with Lowe's, other PMIs in Minnesota. This is my signature talk. And so all you have to do is go to info@agileeducate.com for the booking. But book me. I speak to capabilities, communities of practice, because we need to get this out here. This community is growing and booming and thriving. And I'm encouraging all of you to share your stories, right? Take a stand. You don't have to take a seat. The certification got us on the plane. Now what? Okay.
Right.
Yes. Questions?
That was just Neelan. I'm going to share something after you're done as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So this is my last slide. Thank you for attending. If you want, book me to speak, or if you want a consultation, obviously I do those as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on the Agile Transformation journey. And at this point, this is my time. Thank you for attending. Neelan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Don. We definitely want to hear from you guys and understand what you want to see next. But I just want to put that out there right before you guys jump. But Don, just really, really, really thank you so much for providing your time today, dropping some nuggets. I definitely encourage all of you to reach out to Dawn in the future. She's a great consultant. Just her team, they do a great job, and she's a familiar face and a trusted face around PMI Metrolina. So definitely reach out to her. Additionally, there will be an email that comes out to you within the 11 o'clock hour with more information from Dawn. I am going, so I see you guys answering the poll that I put up. We definitely want to make sure that we are providing offerings, whether it be courses or Saturday PDUs that you guys are interested in. So yes, I see all these coming in. So this is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and it looks like they're still moving. I hope that so I did put, I'm going to redo it again right quick. I in the chat, I posted a bunch of links. We're out here, right? This is the 21st century. Well, we're 21 years into the 21st century. So, catch us online. So we have our LinkedIn page, we have our YouTube page that this is actually airing on live right now. So there's a link that I just put in the chat. That is the link to this recording. So you can go out here, you can actually look at Dawn on demand and, be able to redigest those awesome gems that she shared with us. Additionally, our LinkedIn page is up here. Catch us on there. Our Instagram page. Additionally, we are our mentorship program, our mentoring program with PMI Metrolina, it is starting off again next month. So we are in need of IT mentors. What does that look like? An IT mentor doesn't necessarily need to be someone who is on the C-suite or middle management within the world of IT. This just means someone who works in the world of IT that is a professional in there, has, some bit of experience that can, give some introspective and do some lightweight mentoring to some of our, what we call our next generation project managers, those who are maybe trying to transition from one field to the other. So definitely, I put the website to our direct mentoring program page on there. If you go there, you can look at the program, scroll all the way to the bottom to click and submit your name for to be a mentor, because we really do need those mentors. Additionally, Scott Baranowski, he's our director, so his email address is up there, and then mine is vpprofdevelopment@pmi-metrolina.org. if you need to reach out to me. Diamond, yes. So Diamond's one of our volunteers with the organization. Diamond, yes, you can go to that same site if you're interested in being a mentee as well. And let me see. I just want to make sure I shared with you guys. I'm going to share my screen, but you're going to see like, whoa, he has a lot going on. All right, so I wanted to share with you guys right quick what it kind of, let me end this poll. Looks like most of you want to hear more about Agile and change management going forward. So that brings up a really great point. Going forward, we're going to have, I don't know what you guys can see on my screen. Going forward, we're going to have actually our next meeting with PMI is going to be on the 16th. It's like it's our metro meeting, but it's like the largest, it's like our monthly chapter meeting that we have that's outside of our other, satellite communities. And pretty much the topic that's going to be, we're going to be touching on change management, and this meeting is going to be in conjunction with the Association of Change Management Professionals. Our past chapter president and regional mentor, Jennifer Baker, is actually going to be on that call as one of the facilitators. So I definitely encourage you guys to join. Nicole Kelly is going to be on there, and Cassandra Willis. If you are a member of PMI Metrolina, you do not have to pay to register for this. It's included. So I definitely encourage you all to go to our website, pmi-metrolina.org, and go ahead to the calendar of events and register for this course. Additionally, we do have other offerings that are always coming up. Next month, our Agile Certified Practitioner class is coming up, and we have other courses that we're looking to offer as well. So yeah, I know I'm sharing a whole lot of information. If there's anything that that you have questions about, or perhaps that I missed, or you need me to dig more into, definitely reach out to me or any person on the PMI Metrolina team. But yeah, definitely reach out to Don as well. I know some people had some questions in regards to like the consulting opportunities, and there were some questions about the phase gates and the time that it took between those. So yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say thank you too. Thank all of you for your engagement and your support and participation. And Neelan, thank you for doing an excellent job moderating and facilitating. So
absolutely.
Neelan, this is Carol Howard. I see more things in the chats too about PDUs. Are you going to share that information with us as well? How to obtain our PDUs for the course today?
Yes. So if you did register with PMI if you registered through the chapter, then your PDUs can be, we can submit your PDUs on your behalf. If you did not register for it through the chapter and you registered like through another means, then there's a way for you to, your PDUs, you can self-register your PDUs. And we can send in and it's pretty easy. As a volunteer with the chapter over the last few years, I self-register my PDUs all the time. This you just have to know, like, this was a 2-hour course or session, and also the category that it falls under is leadership. Carol, do you know how you registered?
I think I registered external because I'm PMI Atlanta.
Okay. So if you did external, and you didn't register the PMI Metrolina, then you would you would self-report. And if you ever self-report PDUs, you see that they get approved. I mean, like typically really quickly. I mean, I would say like, you get it within 15 minutes to an hour. You see the submission and the approval.
Just need the course information to do that, Neelan. I mean, they're going to want to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I can provide. Yeah, we can provide that.
All right.
Give us some time to work with our vice president of membership, who deals with PDU processing.
All righty.
And I will make sure that we'll send out a mass email just to make sure we tie off all the loose ends.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
No problem. And thanks for joining us from PMI Atlanta. Yeah, that's a great chapter.
Yes.
Guys, I'm from South Africa. I'm part of the PMI chapter in Durban. So I wanted to find out, will I also be able to get PDUs as well?
Hey, quick question. I can jump in here, Nealon. I was on the actual YouTube, so I had to jump into this one. For the for the PDUs, if you registered on our website, which I'm not sure is still opening, but on the PMI-Metrolina.org,
Yeah.
if you register for that event and you attended this event, we will capture and we'll report on your behalf.
Yeah.
If you did not, we will be sending out an email with this link where you can self-report. It'll give you the step-by-step guidelines of how to input